Ryan in Sacktown. We'll talk Kings. Can you believe they're third in the West? Miracles do happen. Big game tonight against a surging Oklahoma City team, and then Joel Embiid and the 76ers tomorrow. So we have a lot to talk about there. But first things first, we talk NFL football in just a moment. And we like NFL football right now. Sean, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Grant. Good to be on with you, brother.
Yes, indeed. Good to be on with you, too. And, boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Why don't we keep it in sequence of the 4 games this weekend? Would you be most surprised if you and I are talking on Monday and we're talking about Jacksonville advancing to the championship?
Yeah. I was discussing with a friend earlier today, and then on my show, I said, well, I would love to, the fantasizing in me says, please, let's get 4 close games. And yet when I go through it, I went through every one of the pros and cons of each game, and it led to all 4 home teams winning, right? Mm-hmm. But that's something you don't, I want it, but I don't want it because I want it close. And if whoever wins, fine, the best team. But I think Jacksonville, 2 things that stick out. One is very difficult place to go. It's really 3, very difficult place to go play, but they're just so good offensively. 4 AFC championship games. That's the obvious stuff. And once they get rolling downhill, they can pump out 2-3 touchdowns in a hurry. I'm concerned about Jacksonville, not because I don't think they're a good team. I think they're on to something special moving forward. But did they empty the bucket last week's playoff game? We saw TCU take a big sigh after they got to the national title game, and Georgia, the superior team, put it on them. Mm-hmm. I feel it's not going to be 65-7, but I feel the same way. If Jacksonville, we're happy to be here, or because we got a lot of years of doing this, or screw that, let's go do this. Now, Doug Peterson will be thinking different, but I'm anxious to see if the talent can match up. That, to me, I said, and, Doug Peterson knows Andy better than anybody. I mean, as far as coaches go, so he'll know what he's thinking, but still got to execute it. I said of all the games that feel like could be the biggest blowout, or if there was one to happen, it'd be there.
Yeah, the reason why I say that, I think Jacksonville, they made great strides this year, but they're not ready. I don't think they're ready for this type of a jump. And so that's why I'm looking at these 4 games. I would agree with you. I do like the 4 home teams. We'll get to all the games in a minute. We're going to start in sequence. But let's get more on this Jacksonville-Kansas City game. Forget about last week for a moment, although, I understand where you're going. I just look at their personnel. I look at their youth. I just don't think they're ready to make that jump. This is normally a process in the NFL. You get a taste, you get in the playoffs, and then you really get rolling. I just don't see them that type of a team right now.
And you said you meant Jacksonville. You cut out a little bit. That was Jack. Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Right. Yeah. I agree with you 100%, Grant. I it's like we're a year away from seeing something even more special. Exactly. I'm not a big believer in saying you're on house money, although I'm sure most of the world believes that's the case. I always believe that if you convince yourself you're on house money, you're building in an easy excuse to lose. But there's a level of talent on Jacksonville. They've got certain players, but the level of experience, the Andy Reid factor, even though Doug Peterson's good, and the quarterback, as good as Lawrence is, you throw 4 picks in this game, it will be Georgia TCU.
Oh, yes, it will.
But he's a really, really, really good player. But the best guy in the league right now, obviously, is still the guy in Kansas City. I just think, and I think that even though they've been to 2 Super Bowls and 4 AFC Championship games, as I mentioned, but Grant, I'll ask you this. When are we going to start saying, if Mahomes gets shut down this year, and maybe I brought this up to you this week, let's say they go again, but don't get to a Super Bowl. Are we going to start to bring up that Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes are the same guy? You get my point. I know it's early in his career. One's been in 18. My point is that, well, how many times do we label a guy? Well, look how many times he's been to 5 AFC Championship games, got 1 Super Bowl. I look at it the other way. and that was and that's what I said on my show, and I'm amazing that somebody else had put that up there for me, Grant. Is I look at the other way. Hell, how difficult it is to get to 5 straight AFC Championship games if they win this and get there. But there will be. I'm telling you, there will be whispers of Joe Burrow's been to the. If he were to go twice, let's say in 2, they'd say, well, Burrow's been to 2 Super Bowls in a row. Why can't Patrick get him there and win? He's been to 2 and lost 1. Even though it's a shitty ass narrative, how that goes on social media and the rest of it. So I don't think so yet, and I think he's such a likable guy. But I just don't think they may be ready for kind of prime time. But you're going to have to play the best game of Trevor Lawrence's life and his career to beat Kansas City in this game.
You know what really stands out to me about Patrick Mahomes this year? And you talk about Aaron Rodgers. Think about those 2 teams. Tyreek Hill, Mr. Explosive, Mr. Instant 6, call it whatever you want, leaves Kansas City to goes to Miami. And Patrick Mahomes didn't lose, nothing changed for him. Yet look at what Tyreek Hill did for Tua when Tua was on the field and the impact that he had with the Dolphins. Aaron Rodgers loses his Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and he looked lost. And the offense looked lost for most of the year. What really impresses me about Mahomes is the fact that you can lose one of the most explosive players in all of the National Football League, and he was the same guy. That really sticks out to me, Sean.
Grant, for me, I always talk about mental and emotional toughness being my number 1 trait in a quarterback. The next one is, do you make people around you better, regardless of the personnel? Mm-hmm. The guy in New England who's now in Tampa always did.
Every year.
It didn't matter who the personnel change. You could have a revolving door, but you knew where they were going to end up. Listen, I think Aaron Rodgers is a special player. Don't misunderstand me.
No question. I
Mahomes,
do too.
If you didn't know the names and that Tyreek Hill was not on their team, you'd say, what's different?
Mm-hmm.
In truth, what's different now? Throw another weapon or 2 in. It doesn't matter because, of course you got to have talent. Now, if they had 5 number 4 wide receivers, it'd be different. But he is literally, he maximizes, he takes everybody and elevates their game. Mm-hmm. Everybody. And so I think it's not only worth pointing out as you did, but it's just a fact. Mahomes makes the world better. If Mahomes went to Buffalo, they'd be just as good. If he went to Cincinnati, they'd be just as good. If he went to Detroit, they'd have been in the playoffs, even though Goff had a good year. If he'd have been in Green Bay, the Packers would have made the playoffs. Do you understand my point this year? No knock on Aaron at all. It's just a compliment to a very special, special player.
All right, so we both like Kansas City in this game. Let's go to the nightcap tomorrow, the Giants and the Eagles. All right, you know I'm a diehard Giants fan. What they did last week is one thing. They're not playing Minnesota tomorrow. They're playing Philadelphia. And if Philadelphia has their players on the field, which it appears they do, particularly on their offensive line with Lane Johnson, which is huge, I don't know about Jalen Hurts. We'll find out as the game goes on. I know he played 2 weeks ago against the Giants. He clearly wasn't the same guy. But if I'm looking at this game, the Eagles are better than the Giants on both sides of the football. I know the Giants have that mojo going, call it whatever you want. I'm not sure that's going to really matter tomorrow. I could see the Giants hanging around in this game for a while, Sean. But if I'm looking at personnel, the Eagles are just a better football team.
They are, and I don't give a fuzzy rat's ass about game-to-game momentum or what's going on either, Grant. The mojo. Hey, remember what everybody said last week? And we hear it all the time is, destiny. TCU was a team of destiny. And they had mojo, man. Yeah. And then they ran into a better team who punched them right in the friggin' mouth. And it's all fun and game. What is it? All fun and games until somebody punch you right square in your face. And how do you react? And I just don't. To me, I think they can hang around. Now, something special will have to happen, and that's okay.
Yep.
But I will tell you this, they will not beat themselves in this game. The Giants will not. If they get beat, it's going to be because Philadelphia is just better. Keep an eye on Wink Martindale in this game, the defensive coordinator's approach to the Philadelphia Eagles. He knows the Lane Johnson, the injury situation. And I go into this. He took Jefferson out of last week's game against the Vikings, completely less than 50 yards when that's the biggest moment. And I don't think Jefferson touched the ball in the fourth quarter. I don't. So there's that part of it. With an inside zone and Hurts' ability to do both, you're going to have to sacrifice something. So I say, okay, what's the lesser of two evil? Which one? If Hurts had a weakness, which I don't think he's got a glaring weakness, but which one is he better at? His feet are a bigger creator. He could rush for 140 yards. I'm just telling you, he can. So if you're Wink Martindale, you say, okay, if I walk out of this stadium and I got beat, do I want somebody saying Hurts was 22 of 27 for 240 and he ran for 22 yards. He just made a big play and we got beat. Tip your cap. Or if he throws for 300. But if you walk out of that stadium and it says 14 carries for 140 yards and threw for 250, first off, if that happens, they're going to get curb stomped.
Yep.
Take away his best. So what I'm doing is I'm gearing up to make Hurts beat me, and he's proven he can, but beat me from where the perceived weakness has been. Can he throw from the pocket on a daily basis and beat you without being able to stretch you and then inside zone? You must stop the run game in this and make that. Even with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, you got to stop Miles Sanders, and you got to take Hurts from that keep it inside zone, pull it, run for 27 yards, flip the field. Make him beat you. If you lose to them throwing for 400, then deal with it. But that's the way you got it. And on the other side, your offensive approach by Kafka has got to be the same way. Two-dimensional quarterback and chunk plays. 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 plus 20 plus 30 plays in a game. I like Philly, though, but I think I like Philly, but I think it's closer than people think.
I think of all the teams in the playoffs, I just think that Philadelphia is getting the least amount of respect. And I know you don't give a shit about that. That's why you play the games, and I get all of that. But I'm just talking about the narrative nationally. You know, during the regular season was Philly, 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 Philly. And then all of a sudden they get a couple of injuries and Jalen Hurts doesn't play. And all of a sudden people like change their tune on Philly. Why? They got everyone back this week. Why is that, Sean? I don't get it.
I'll tell you what, out of sight, out of mind, Grant. The national games, we haven't seen much. Hurts has been banged up, so we haven't seen a lot of him the last month. We've been talking about, the Brady or the Packers going to get into the playoffs. Purdy's been playing, so he stole some thunder, which if you're the Eagles, use it as fodder and use it as fire. But you're sitting back saying, did you guys actually forget who the number 1 seed in the playoffs is?
Exactly.
And that's okay. And it's just kind of, we haven't really seen much or talked much about them, but I can guarantee you this. You'll know who they are if you forgot about them. They're that good. So interesting to see. And the most underrated portion in this whole game is Philadelphia's defense.
Oh boy,
they're really friggin' good.
They are really freaking good. And I'll tell you, I think the Giants are going to have I think they're going to have a big problem scoring in this game offensively. As good as they were.
Take the under, Grant. I'm under all day in this game.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
All right, I think the best games are on Sunday. I think these are 2 tremendous games, and we start with Buffalo and Cincinnati. All right, here's what concerns me about this game. I have not been really pleased with what I've seen from Buffalo, and Josh Allen is making too many mistakes for me. The Bengals' offensive line, still question marks with their starting guard and starting tackle. That would concern me, although Cincinnati did make it to the Super Bowl last year with an offensive line that had a lot of problems protecting Burrow. You have been high on Cincinnati for most of the season. I have as well. I think Cincinnati has a better team, but that offensive line really concerns me going into this game. Sean, I look at this as a field goal type of a game. I would be surprised, Sean, if with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, this game's not up for grabs.
I'm going to take it even with you. I'll raise you and see, and I'll raise you when I think that this game is last possession wins.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think it's that kind of game.
Yeah.
2 fantastic quarterbacks, 2 teams that if we're really looking at how good they are, they kind of pissed down their leg a little bit last week, and they're fortunate to get away with it, both of them. Both of them played non-starting quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and they hear the whispers. They know that people are talking about them, but they stayed the course and they pulled it off, and sometimes you got to win crappy in the playoffs. That's okay. I do believe – and it's hard for me because I picked the Bills to go to the Super Bowl and win it this year.
I did too.
But I think this is, I think this of all of them, I think this game has the best chance at an upset. I do.
I agree.
I think it's the last possession, and Josh Allen, while great, do not get careless with the ball in the end zone because the dude on the other side of the field will make you pay. And it's the other way around too. Give up a strip sack fumble or get down to the red zone and take 2 sacks and get yourself out of field goal range, and Buffalo will take it down and score on your ass too. So we know all the keys.
Yeah.
Buffalo's defense, the weapons on both teams in the passing game are freaky. You know, they're going to make plays, and you better when you lock them down, you better run with them because these two guys can both buy time and make plays outside the pocket. The run games for both, Grant. Who's going to win it? Who's going to show up? The Mixon side in that group, or does Buffalo all of a sudden? And I'm not Allen's feet, but I'm talking about the regular run game and how committed does Ken Dorsey and Zach Taylor's group stay to it, or are they like the rest of us? Put the ball in those two quarterbacks' hands and let's see what happens. But I think this is a last possession game.
And I'm looking at what Cincinnati did last year. If you can go in and win a championship game in Kansas City, you can go win a playoff game in Buffalo. You know, so I'm not saying I wouldn't rather have the game in Cincinnati if I'm the Bengals. Obviously, I would. But this team has shown time and time again they can go on the road and win a big game. So the fact that the game's in Buffalo doesn't change my opinion.
And I guarantee the Burrow factor and all those, they're while they would have loved it, I guarantee they've preached all week. I don't give a shit what about distractions or what happens.
Yep. We'll
go on the road and take care of our business in their house. I will also say this. When I on my show this morning, my co-host brought up point spread of this game. And I guessed, I said, what, like 2.5. I haven't looked at them yet. And I usually wait till around now for a Saturday, Sunday games to look at them. And I'll be damned. This game's almost a touchdown. It was 5 or 5.5. And there you go, 5 points. That to me, that's way too many. Just like if Buffalo was going to Cincinnati, to me, this is a field goal, extra point. Go ahead and snap hook 2 extra points, and you'll end up losing. It's that kind of game to me. I think that's too many points. I'm going to stick with my Buffalo pick because that's who I picked. But I will. If Cincinnati wins, Kansas City's like, please, I don't want to deal with these cats again.
Right.
Go ahead, Buffalo. We'll play you again. So. This is a brutal game, and these quarterbacks, that gauntlet is brutal too.
I was shocked when I saw the line of 5 points. That
Agreed.
really surprises me. Surprised the hell out of me, you know?
Agreed.
All right. So but for the record,
I'm taking Buffalo.
You think Buffalo is going to win, but you would take the points is what you're telling me.
Yeah. Now, if you told me who the better team is the last 6 weeks in my mind, or the last 8, I've told you I'd take the Bengals.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think the Bengals have to take one back seat to the offense. We all talk about the explosiveness in Buffalo. Shit, Cincinnati's offense can score from the doggone parking lot too. So I'm going to take Buffalo because that's who I picked at the beginning of the season. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals can win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to San Francisco and Dallas. Before the playoffs started, you and I had a little bit of a different opinion on this. I thought Tampa was by far the worst team in the playoffs. And they looked like it against Dallas. I'm not taking anything away from Dallas. I'm not taking anything away from the Cowboys. They played a tremendous game. Prescott was A+, the offense, defense. I'm not taking anything away from Dallas. To me, they beat a bad football team, and that's how I feel. I think they're playing the best team, arguably, in all of football this weekend. I'm picking San Francisco in this game, Sean. But if you told me Dallas is going to win this game even by a touchdown, I wouldn't be shocked. I could see it happening. I just think San Francisco is too good right now.
Of the starters in the league right now, I'm pretty the statistic, yards per attempt first, Brock Purdy. Touchdown ratio to interception, Brock Purdy. I mean, there's like 5 major stats. He's number 1 in all of them first.
Wow.
So this narrative – let me just put it to you this way. If Brock Purdy was Trevor Lawrence or Brock Purdy was Joe Burrow, I'm talking about that pub, or meaning they were drafted in the first round. If he was Brock Purdy'd be the biggest. Brock Purdy'd be one of the faces of the league right now on a franchise. It's historic. Young in Montana, it's the 49ers. You'd already see him on national TV commercials. I'm not dogging the other guys.
I understand.
The narrative on him, because if they lose and he put those 2 picks, the first thing the national the bullshit they talk about, you know what they're going to say? See, finally caught up with him after all the great he's done. You're going to hear some of them say, Yep. That's why I was the last pick of the draft. And yep, back to again. Now where's Trey Lance again? When the truth you should say is we're just getting started how good this kid's going to
Mm-hmm.
be. But the narrative will shift. But listen, I think they've played I'm with you. Well, 11 in a row tells you they've been the best team in football. And their defense is nasty. They're well coached.
Yep.
They got weapons galore on the offensive side. They've got a quarterback. And I heard a story, a guy who trains him. Before I came on with you, Grant, was talking with him. And he's trained him since the 8th grade. And when he talked to him in his first start, he threw his touchdown pass to Kittle. And I guess McCaffrey, he was excited and fired up. McCaffrey ran out on the field and grabbed him and said, dude, great job. But we got a lot to do here. And he said it reshifted his focus.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I can relate to that happened to me with Jack Del Rio in the playoffs years ago. Exact same thing. I was getting too excited after my first playoff touchdown pass. I mean, we went down the field, scored on Washington. Del Rio met me, and I've known Jack's been one of my best friends since we were 16. Grabbed me by the shirt and said, Sal's, refocus. This is a long game, because he knows I'm not a celebrator.
Yeah.
And it's like, I may have told you that story. So he Purdy, and it kicked in. Well, the results turned out better for Purdy than it did for me. But the fact of the matter is, whatever it takes to get it to take care of it. And Grant, you're right. I got some exclusive tape sent to me and my buddy JB Tuesday for after the Monday night game. We got the all 22 of it.
Okay.
Now I'm just going to validate, because I thought Tampa could stay in this game, and that it's the playoffs. Well, and I think a lot of us did, because we didn't know who the Cowboys were. Let me tell you the scheme defensively for the scheme, and Bowles is very fortunate that he got to get rid of coaches, and he's keeping it. His defensive scheme was horseshit on Monday night. Horrible. The players, it was windows were 20 yards open, and they were out of place, their players and the scheme, the entire night. And offense obviously wasn't much better. And that's to take nothing, a lot of it probably Cowboy related. And the Cowboys looked real. They looked like a Super Bowl team. But the 18-yard window is going to be the size of a coffee can this week. So they're going to be a difficult task. But Cowboys, you caught Tampa Bay doing what they've done all year long. And the Cowboys kind of being who they are 1 week after the next. It's down, it's up. They better hope they hit that trend where they're up, because the 49ers don't play. And this is going to be, I think this is probably going to be a really good game in the end. I just think the 49ers are going to make more plays, and I think they got more moxie. That's just me.
Yeah, I want to go on the back end of what you just said. When you look at organizations in the National Football League, I don't think there's a better example of equality, diversity than what Bruce Arians has always done in his career. I think he's at the very top of the list. So I think that when we talk about an organization, Tampa is right there. But I really believe, because of the pushback right now as it pertains to African-American coaches, I thought Todd Bowles did a horrible job this year. I really do. And the fact that now pretty much all of the coaches on the staff are gone and have been fired this week, and Todd Bowles is remaining, I'm not so sure that the Buccaneers are afraid of the backlash if another black coach in the NFL gets fired. And I really believe that. Todd Bowles was not a good head coach in New York with the Jets. I did not think he did a good job. And here's the other deal, Sean. I know Todd Bowles is the head coach and not the defensive coordinator, but let's not kid anyone. That defensive game plan is Todd Bowles' defensive game plan, and they were terrible, as you said. I think that falls directly, or most of it, on the shoulders of the head coach. That's how I see it.
And yet, here's the thing, in defensive, and just giving you the counterpoint, is the one thing I do know, and they've got personnel. He didn't. Let's face facts. You don't fire coaches when you've had a good season.
Right.
They did not. He didn't have his best year. Coordinators didn't have their best year. Hell, Brady. Listen, we praise Tom Brady through the roof regularly. Tom Brady was missing balls by 9 yards. They were on the same plane. Tom Brady at this game looked like Tom Brady should broadcast. Yet, whether it comes back, we know he's still got game. He's still got game, but take no away from it. We always, when teams win, we usually give the players the credit because the players play. And a lot of times when they're schemed, I saw it with my own eyes again, like I said, with the Todd Bowles' scheme on Monday night was horribly bad I'm talking about this one game. And they weren't good on offense. They didn't run it. They threw it 66 times. Brady wasn't good. Mike Evans was running one way, and he's going. They looked like a team, players and coaching staff, ill prepared. the Cowboys looked the opposite. But with that, and Micah Parsons right off the bat started to get in the backfield and set it up. I don't know. Listen, I know there's a lot. I saw Brandon Staley, you fired Joe Lombardi after your defense gave up 31 points and you scored 27 with all the great weapons, and yet they felt the inclination to go fire Joe Lombardi. And then you knew what happened in Minnesota. Defensive coordinator hadn't been well all year. He got fired as well. So Ed Donatel. So it goes all over the place, but it was not Tampa's best year. Now, the one thing for Todd is that people rave. I love him as a person and as a defensive coordinator, but they said when you get good players, you got a chance. Yet Super Bowl year, he was lights out coaching defense.
Yes, he
as
was.
The head coach this year, they said when you get good players, Todd Bowles is going to be a great coach. And it is only 1 year. And he's going to come back, and I get it. I just hate when Chargers, Tampa Bay, I don't think Byron, if you're not going to run a defensive staff out or just part of them, what did Byron Leftwich do? I mean, his quarterback still threw for 4,700 yards. Doesn't he deserve another roll at it again? Another year? We had a couple great years and one bad. And my point is they weren't on the same page. What's the talk that Bowles wanted to get rid of him? He didn't want to even retain him at the beginning of the year. I love Byron. Hopefully he'll go get a coordinator job. And I think Todd Bowles deserves another run to prove to us he's either really good or that he's a better coordinator than a head coach. But it wasn't their best. And the Cowboys dismantled them. Yeah. They were far more prepared for whatever reason. So we'll see.
Yep.
But Todd Bowles has got a lot to prove in 2023, Grant. He does, as does the Tampa franchise if they're going to move forward with or without Brady.
Yeah, and in all fairness, Dallas was a much healthier team than Tampa. Tampa was really beat up, particularly on their offensive line. All right, let's move on, and let's talk more about that Dallas-San Francisco game. I mean, you look at what San Francisco did in the middle of the season to get Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going to ask you, Sean, if you're a defensive coordinator, how the hell do you game plan for the 49ers right now? I mean, they have so many weapons.
My number one thing is win on first down somehow. Grant, seriously, I'd like to. You know how sometimes we can sit here and I can bullshit you with the X's and O jargon and doing it. I honestly, truthfully, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, how would I defend them? They say, where's their weakness? Offensive line's pretty good. They run the ball. I don't think you can stop the run game if they're committed to it, and they are. I think that you can maybe contain it for a while, but they're so good edge-wise, and then they come back with cutbacks and inside zone and Purdy's feet. I guarantee the 49ers didn't realize Purdy's feet were as good as they are when they drafted him. I promise you that. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, Dan Quinn's got his toughest job this year because you can, even if you only give up 17 points, take the under in this one too. The dudes on defense on the other side, they're not going to budge much to the Cowboys. I got to see how Prescott responds when they're in his backfield in this game in the playoffs because he played his ass off last week. Ball didn't hit the ground much. But trying to game plan, Grant, I don't know in a short week to have to deal. I guess you hope that you put Purdy in situations, even though he's averaging like 11 yards per attempt, put him in situations that are so uncomfortable that he gets out of what he's done and out of his rhythm.
Yeah.
Because they're so good in the quick game and the run, and they don't have a problem running on 3rd and 7. They'll get a first down.
That's right.
So I think this task is tough. I'd love to shower you with bullshit and tell you all the stuff that I know a lot about X's and O's, and I do, but if I was game planning against the 49ers this week after what I've seen the last 11 weeks, I'm not sure. Did I ever tell you the story real quick what John Kruk told me about Crucker, who's awesome? Remember the hitting coach, Walt Reniak? You know Walt Reniak. Walt, one hand off the bat, long time. And he said, and pardon my French, I said, John, tell me about a great story. He said, I was in Chicago with the White Sox, and he called him Walter. Walter. He's the East Coast Boston guy, Walter. And that's how Reniak talked. And Crucker says, hey, Walter, he used to always talk shit to. He goes, Walter, what kind of shot we got today? How are we going to do today during batting practice? And Reniak goes, Crucker, we got no fucking shot today. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Walter? We got a shot. We had no fucking shot. That Clemens, he throws that splitter. We can't hit that. We got no shot today. And I said, well, what happened in the game? He goes, Sean, we had no shot. And so that's what he said. So a part of me would probably look at the defense and piss them off and say we got no shot and hope that it was reverse psychology. But they got good players. Listen, the question is, are you going to tackle in the secondary at the next level? I mean, the way Crucker tells is far better to me, but I can just picture Riniak in that East Coast voice. Oh, we got no shot. It's Clemens. He throws 100 and he got that splitter. And so now you look at, you explain that, well, they got the quarterback, the running back, the wide receivers, they're versatile. They got big plays. They got a blocking tight end, good offensive line, and then they're nasty on defense. All that said, Cowboys play like they did last week. That's a fourth quarter game as well. Yeah. I do like the 49ers, though.
And without Jason Peters, it looks like he's out. The Cowboys have to reshuffle that offensive line again. And there's a guy by the name of Nick Bosa. So here we are. We have, I think, the two best defensive players in football, on each side of the field with Michael Parsons and Nick Bosa. This is going to be fun to watch those two guys.
I couldn't agree more, my friend. I think, and don't think for 1 second they don't have that as a sidebar in their head.
Oh, boy.
They're dominant. They both respect each other. And if you're Trent Williams on one side, and if and you're the Cowboys, well, it's two Williams. I mean, let's see, it's is it Smith and Williams? Regardless of where they move around the offensive line, they're all going in there saying, "Okay, we're good, but damn, these guys got a little extra incentive because they're both thinking big picture and go wreck the game, and they're both capable of it." And both teams have pretty good defensive players. And real quick, Grant, for this question. So, I wouldn't want to have to block either one of those dudes. Denver's hired 3 first-time head coaches in a row. All have failed. Is that an option to hire another first-time head coach? No. They have to hit this out of the ballpark. If not, then it starts to fall in the front office. You can't keep doing this.
No.
And maybe they will, but if you could keep Sean Payton, I don't even know why you'd let him leave the building if that's it. Or if they go and interview Dan Quinn. If you're going to get a first-time head coach, you sure as hell better make sure that you believe that he's going to change the entire – but I think they thought that with Hackett. I need a little more experience than I got with Nathaniel Hackett, even if it is a first-year head coach.
I also like when a first-time head coach comes in with a new general manager and they come in together, similarly to what we saw in New York with the Giants with Shane and Dable. I think that's really important. I think you said this, Sean, last year, and it really resonated with me when I asked you about, how you would, go about hiring a head coach and how important and what are the qualities you look for. And you talked about how the general manager and the head coach have to be absolutely intertwined and aligned 100%. And if it's not, it's never going to work.
Agreed. And listen, even if they fake it early, if it's just fake and it's window dressing, eventually year 2, the first time somebody screws up, it'll be the I confess, well, he didn't give me the players I wanted, or the coach, the GM saying, yeah, but he's not coaching the way we thought he would. And Cody, you're exactly right. DeMeco Ryans, who people here in Houston love, DeMeco Ryans is a frigging great coach. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about great, but we never know DeMeco, Mike Kafka, all these guys, how they're going to be when they are the head coach. But I can tell you what, you can do a lot worse than DeMeco Ryans. I love him. And another chance for him to showcase. Denver has a playoff roster. They had a non-playoff coach and a quarterback who played like he was an elementary school quarterback last year. They got some fixing to do, but they do have people and personnel.
I really hope when we talk on Monday, we're not talking about a bullshit call that cost the team a game. And I'm really talking about roughing the passer calls, which to me have cost teams games this year. And I'm really, really hoping, Sean, that doesn't happen this weekend. I really do.
Well, listen, you don't have to get it. It doesn't have to come to me fast, but get it right. Yep. I don't care. Get it right, because with these two teams who are all knowing and that are great football franchises, and we know the history behind these two franchises against each other, is I sure as hell do not want – here's what I want. We got 2 prime grade A top grass-fed steaks playing in this game, the best in the business. Whether you like the bone-in filet, please don't let a ground beef call ruin it. Does that make sense, Grant?
Yep.
And I like a good burger, but damn, I ain't turning down a baked potato and cream spinach and shrimp cocktail and the best steak on the planet for a sloppy fucking Joe. Okay, so give me the right call. And to I don't know who said that, Andre. What a very nice compliment, man. I appreciate it. I'm passionate about the game. I sure as hell wish I had one more throw in me. I got to throw, but I can't move. But I sure love watching all these great players and coaches coach it.
Whoa. You have a throw in you, but you can't move? Is that what you just said?
Oh, dude, listen. You go out there and tell me Sean, I need 5 plays from you. My thing I'm going to tell the head coach is 1, max protect so I don't get hit because I've taken enough of those. And 2 is I could still throw it, but do not move the damn pocket. Because if that's the case, I'm throwing it to my family in the stands. I ain't holding on to it. But I got I got throws. I got no hits and I got no movement, but I got throws, brother.
And you got
Put
some
me in the
swings in.
gun
You
and
still
stick a red
and you got
jersey
some
on me and I
swings
can
in.
throw
You
it.
still think you can hit one on batting practice over the Green Monster, huh?
Listen, I don't think I can. Matter of fact, Yellowstone Park can't hold me in a baseball diamond in batting practice. Still at this age. I tell you, give me 50, 75 swings at Fenway Park. I'll hit more than 1 out during batting practice. I can friggin' guarantee it.
Wait a minute. To all fields or just over the Monster?
I didn't say to the right center field bullpen, the deepest part. I said to the Monster. I'm hitting at 309 with a hard baseball and a wood bat, and I'm turning on it. Okay. I've been in 3 parks that couldn't hold me. Okay. So it was 25 years ago, but Grant, I know I could still hit it out.
You're
and
a
I could
beauty.
still throw it, but I'm damned if I'm going to dude, I'm not letting a Pop Warner kid hit me anymore. Okay.
You're a beauty. All right. Last thing. I'm putting you as a general manager of a team that needs a quarterback. You want Derek Carr as your quarterback next year?
I want, and the silver and black need you. Listen, I'm a lifetime Raider fan. Please allow me. I'd coach or do whatever, crawl 10 miles over broken glass to be in a Raider organization, and I think I could help. But I'm the general manager, and I want Derek Carr. Do I think Derek Carr can help me? Sure. We'll put up numbers. He'll do great things. You're not going to be playing in February. That's just it.
Okay.
You're just not. But is he an upgrade on a lot of teams? Yeah, and he'll put up numbers, and he'll compete his ass off. But you won't be wearing the ring next year or the year after, I don't think. We're 9 years in. I know who he is. Really damn good player, but there's a group of about 5 or 6 that are going to put up those kind of numbers and wow you one week. But when it gets right down to, just like I don't think Cousins is ever wearing a Super Bowl ring, and I hold both of them in a high regard. I just don't. But I'll damn well tell you, they'll throw for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, and you'll love them one week and scratch your head the next. But they'll be wearing as many Super Bowl rings as starting quarterbacks as I will, and they're both far better than me.
Enjoy the games this weekend, buddy. Appreciate you.
Love you. Appreciate you, brother. You too. Thanks. Thanks to all you listeners.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Sean. I cut you off, buddy. I apologize. Hey, Sean, I'll put you right back on. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I know you got a lot to do. I just wanted to thank everybody. I'm so grateful that for their insight. I really am. So thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Sean Salisbury. Good stuff right there. And want to let everyone know, New Works Plumbing of Sacramento, locally owned for over 20 years. New Works has a fix for you. For your plumbing needs and repairs, just go to sacserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. All right. We have got some NBA basketball going on this weekend in Sacktown. Ryan is joining us, and oh boy, I think tonight's game is going to be a dandy. Ryan, great to have you on the program, but Oklahoma City and the Kings are 2 hot teams, and they're going to be going head-to-head in a couple of hours.
Oh boy, is it going to be a great game. Grant, Oklahoma City, 4-game winning streak, and let's talk about that winning streak because they've won by 15 or more during this streak.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these teams. Philadelphia, Boston, Brooklyn, Indiana. I mean, this team is peaking at the right time, and they play together as a team. So it's going to be a fun game, and the Kings are going to have to bring it.
Yeah, Oklahoma City tonight, Philadelphia tomorrow, Memphis, and then Toronto. I would think that the community in the surrounding area, this is the most hype that we've seen from Kings fans since the early 2000s. So the atmosphere is phenomenal, and I think the atmosphere tonight for this game is going to be off the charts.
Yeah, it's going to be the closest thing to a playoff game that we've seen in a long time. And we've had a couple of those already this season. And granted, just when you think it's hit its peak, it just keeps getting higher and higher right now in Sacramento.
All right, give me a key for tonight. First of all, I think the point guard matchup is the one that I want to watch. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, De'Aaron Fox, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a great matchup. I truly think the key tonight, as funny as it sounds, defense. They need to carry over what they did. They're not going to stop this team, but they need to control this team because Oklahoma City is incredibly smart on offense. They make crisp passes, they move the ball, and they've got 5-6 guys that you've never heard of that can score the ball as well. So Kings need to play heads up.
good news is Domantas Sabonis is going to play tonight, so
Yes.
that's good. Terrence Davis is questionable, so we'll keep an eye on that. But good that Sabonis is going to be back on the floor for such a big stretch of games coming up.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant. He was at shoot around, participated, took some shots. So it'll be nice to have him back. But you know what? The Kings need to play like they don't have him, like they did in LA, because that's when the other guys really flourished and stepped up. And, you know, Domas is a chameleon out there on the floor. He can play around anything. So as long as everybody brings it, it's going to be a competitive game, and one that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Well, we're looking forward to being on at halftime tonight of the game and then after the game. And don't forget, Jerry Reynolds joins us on Wednesdays as well. So, Ryan, we look forward to talking to you quite a bit throughout the evening, Kings basketball, and we'll talk to you in a couple hours, my friend.
Sounds good, Grant. Sean got me hungry. I'm going to go get a Sloppy Joe now before the game. I mean, nothing wrong with a good Sloppy Joe.
No, not at all. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. So there you have it. Don't forget, we will be on at halftime of the game tonight and after as well, right here on If You Don't Like That with Grant Napier and, of course, Ryan in Sacktown as well. Talk to you later. I'm getting ready for my show over on Listen App. Hope you can join me on that as we talk more football, more basketball. So long.